You're the person with no plan B. You're the person who's like burn all the boats.
I was. I made it pretty rigorous that I want to clear prelims at any cost, because that would give me an initial push कि अच्छा ठीक है मैं prelims कर सकती हूँ. So probably I would convince my parents to at least give me another year. My father mentioned that this guy has this one of my friend's son. He has gotten a good package and he did BTech from so and so college. And yeah, so just stick to that one point. What motivates you for this exam? Or I mean, not just for UPSC, but for any other thing, whatever you're trying to pursue, there will be a lot of roadblocks. But what is more important is that you remain with that point why you actually followed your passion. And if you have it, no matter whatever the challenges are, you always try to pull yourself up. And that self-motivation it kind of gets you self-going every time that there are challenges.
Hi everyone, in this Raw and Real, we have Aditi with us today, who's ranked 57, probably the youngest in this batch to clear UPSC, and that too in her first attempt. Her story is amazingly interesting. She's 22-year-old, so she'll resonate a lot with the college guys who are right now in DU or pursuing some of the other courses and are thinking of UPSC as an option. But she'll go deep into how this option became more lively for her, what choices she took post-school, what happened in this whole career dilemma where she was almost going for the master's, but she didn't. And with the BA degree, which could have been a BTech degree, she is now an IAS officer. Aditi, the floor is all yours. I'll admit that I am of a previous generation, and this is my first podcast with probably the youngest IAS officer I have ever met and had a chance to. So take the floor. Tell us about specifically your school journey, your decision to pursue humanities as a subject, even though you, I think, took science as a 11, 12 thing. And then what happened post that? And then I'll keep coming in between.
Yeah, so, just like a lot of aspirants, they have a childhood dream that they want to be an IAS officer. I too had this dream when I was in class 7th or 8th. And, but gradually, this dream sort of fixated on me, and I thought I want to pursue it as a profession. But it was only after class 12th that I took it up seriously that I want to give this exam. Because before class 11th, when we have to take up our streams, since I was a bright child and I was doing academically well, people suggested that PCM is the ultimate choice for you. And just PCM le lo, then BTech or BSc is the ultimate choice for you. So that was the only natural option. And I remember I sat for JEE mains. I got through it, but I couldn't clear advance. And probably at that stage, I realized that I do not really have a technical bent of mind. I could not really imagine myself pursuing that field. And also, to be in a corporate world as such, I couldn't really imagine that for myself. And I remember it was then that Delhi University had released its forms. So I thought that why not just give it a chance and take up a subject in which I'm truly interested in, and probably which could also help me in pursuing my childhood dream as this. Yeah, so it was then that I made that switch. It just looks like very rosy at this moment that I say it. I took that risk.
Yeah, was it that easy to convince parents?
No, it wasn't. And I remember it was really ugly at that time. And I don't even recall, I want to recall that period.
Oh.
But, somewhere I had that resolve. And when they saw it too, that I was really interested in this field, and the fact that I would not really be able to do great in BTech. So, after a lot of issues, they finally gave in, and I switched my stream from BTech and technical side to BA Honors Sociology. And I got into Jesus and Mary College. And after that, I prepared for one whole year. I took a drop year in 2021. And thereafter, I gave my first attempt last year.
Okay. So let's go back a bit. So you were a prolific student, and and you would be eldest kid, yes. Right? So it would be assumed that you will pave way for the younger ones and, take most of the right choices. And like you said, it's tough to convince parents. But when you did it not kind of add a pressure right from the start that, now I have taken a call, a conscious call at that, So your whole college career kind of has to be aligned that eventually IAS is the aim to pursue, because BA degree in India is not a very professional degree, although you went to a great college. How did that pan out for the 3 years for you?
I mean, you know, from the starting of my graduation, I remember that I had it in mind कि अगर नहीं हुआ इसके बाद, like just after my graduation, what will happen to me? My friends would, graduate, they will have their own jobs, and it actually happened. Like I remember after my graduation, when everyone was working and I wasn't, so there was a lot of pressure. And during my graduation itself, I had to hear these comments that you're doing just a BA degree, and in India, as you said, it really does not matter a lot. So that pressure was always there. But uh, you know I I remember that while I was doing sociology, I focused more on if I would really enjoy that subject.
Hmm.
Pressure was one thing, but I would always know that this is my where my passion truly lies. And when you actually do that thing, even though there is pressure, you can always handle it.
Hmm.
If I tell you there's a person who is pursuing a subject where he or she knows that there would be safety, but the interest factor is lacking somewhere. So I mean, that kind of pressure is even more difficult to handle than the kind of pressure that
Makes sense.
you have
Makes sense.
while you're doing something that you enjoy. So while I would actually study the subjects, the humanities subjects, for example, sociology, history, and political science, I would really enjoy every little bit of it. And somewhere or the other, I had the hope that if I would put in my 100%, I might do it. But as they said, it's not very easy. There
Hmm.
were lows at a lot of points. There were very, different periods where I would not
This
able
is
to.
still in college. This is still college life, by the way, not your UPSC prep. This is college.
Yes.
Hmm.
In the college itself, there were so many moments when I would actually discuss it with my friends that, what did I do? Why did I really take that step? I shouldn't have done that.
Oh,
But,
oh.
after those moments, you always pull yourself up and you consciously think that what drive that motivation initially. So I always ensure that what motivated you in the first place. So if you're coming for this
Hmm.
exam, either you're changing your stream, either you're making any sacrifice, just stick to that one point. What motivates you for this exam? Or, I mean, not just for UPSC, but for any other thing, whatever you're trying to pursue, there will be a lot of roadblocks. But what is more important is that you remain with that point why you actually followed your passion. And if you have it, no matter whatever the challenges are, you always try to pull yourself up. And that self motivation it kind of gets you self going every time that there are challenges. So I think that helped me a lot during my 3 years 3 years graduation, and also after that when I took my drop year.
Okay, okay. So let me dig in further and just to put things in perspective. This is very mature coming from you, and obviously this has a hindsight bias to it. But given the fact that you actually lived it out, right, and you're just 22, someone having this maturity and holding on to it, because the next chapter of your life was that you could have gone for a master's, but you then again decided against it. You had got an admission to DAC. Uh, who were your pillars of support, uh, who were sounding board for you, or at least giving you practical gyan ki, haan, that's also doable. I mean, these decisions also can pan out well. I'll give you the reason why I'm asking this. I was speaking with Zendan, who was cleared UPSC this year and probably has got the highest in the interview, 210 or so. And that guy, he did, I think, undergrad from SRCC, then masters from JNU, and then MPhil from JNU, and all this while, and he was thinking, am I making the right choices or not? Should I write UPSC or not? But and it took a long, and his father is an MLA in Sikkim, mother is a judge, so belonging to that family, again the hopes were high. But he said he attended a seminar at Sikkim Manipal University or Sikkim University, and Dr. Raghuram Rajan had come there, and he said that career ban jayega, boss. Just take a pause and analyze the lay of the land first and get your game set uske baad, right? But this is after his MPhil. That's the confidence. You are having the same confidence at 22. So who are your sounding boards, and how did this maturity come by?
So I had my parents around me, even though they would always tell me that, you didn't take the right decision. But I think they always saw it in me that I really want to do it. And they took a chance with me. And I really want to thank them for this, that, even after all those odds, after listening to a lot of comments, they always stuck by my side. But I think that pillar of support would, as I as I said it earlier, that what I really wanted to do in life, because I knew that if I would always, if I would remain stuck with a technical life, or as in a corporate world, I might not have done really well, and I knew it very clearly. So if you have those priorities set in your head, I think that clarity of thought is very important. Secondly, you need to have those supporting parents, or that inner group, as they say it. If they support you well, I think there's nothing that can beat you further. And thirdly, in my case, I feel that um, a lot of times, I think a luck has also played a lot of important role in my journey. So I remember while I was choosing my subject for graduation, I was actually choosing between psychology, philosophy, and sociology. And I think
Hmm.
it was not me who chose sociology, but sociology chose me. So there were certain
Okay.
circumstances, yes. So I think I mean, this might sound a little bit philosophical, but if you really want something, that universe, starts conspiring for you. So that has happened with me. But overall, I think just because I had it very clear in my head, the clarity of thought has helped me a lot with this. And for anyone who's coming towards this, preparation phase, needs to have it very clear in their mindset with the people around them. If they're coming here, they're actually going to put in their heart and soul. And also that this exam is not really कि चलो 6 महीने में ये निकल गया. This actually takes 2 years of your life, and not just 2 years, but a lot of sacrifices are also involved with it. But if you always keep on thinking about the chances that you've missed, the sacrifices that you're making, or probably if you think about the plan B continuously, that might
Hmm.
just divert you from the journey. So I mean,
So
just
you were
have
the
it.
person with no plan B. You're the person who like
Yes,
burn all the boats.
I was. And I think for at least about 2 years, if even if you have a plan B, just keep it 10% of your mind limited to that plan B. Because if that becomes self-fulfilling prophecy, if you kind of always think
Yeah.
about the plan B, कि ये नहीं हो रहा है, plan B हो सकता है. So you tend to keep reminding your mind कि plan B is always there. So in my case, I think that worked out, probably. So yeah, but this is the story.
Okay. And then what happened then? Then the masters happened, but then
Yes.
you decided to
So
go against it.
yeah. So again, like it was in November 2021. I was midway through my classroom program with I mean the drop year. I was midway that through. So I got into Delhi School of Economics on the basis of merit. And since it was online, I decided to pursue it along with my preparation. So I thought that it might add value to my sociology optional preparation as well. And it would also add to my degree, one further degree,
Yeah.
because BA के साथ तो कुछ होता नहीं है, so masters would be a plus one factor. Then in February 2022, just before three months from prelims, they called us all offline, and it became a little rigorous for me to go both the ways. So I decided, again, as I said, that I had that clarity of thought. I want to do this, and even if I do masters, I might not really enjoy it that much as much I would enjoy this exam and the procedure. So again, I made that choice,
How
and
tough
I
was it then?
it
Again.
was equally tough, and my parents were equally angry with me. And I remember that it was a period of 1 week or 10 days that I couldn't really study. I couldn't really do anything. I was very low at that point. But then again, all those circumstances are always there. And when I think back in hindsight, that bias is there. But I remember it wasn't easy at all.
Hmm.
It was really tough. And pulling yourself up was, again, really, really tough. But I had my friends around me who would tell me that, Aditi, you chose this journey for a reason, and why don't you just stick with it? So I kept reminding myself, and I thought that, there are 3 months and I really need to give it all. नहीं होगा, देखेंगे क्या होगा, but uh, I think just because I had put in so many risk factors in this journey that I
Yeah.
actually was driven by the pressure and anxiety also, which I think I shouldn't have done, but I think that drove
कितने
me.
घंटे पढ़ते थे sir? How hectic were your study routines?
It was very hectic because since my journey was more of a sprint than a marathon, so
Yeah.
I feel 8 hours on an average every day. But during जो एग्जाम पास में आने लगा था, I think I gave it like 13 or 14 hours a day. I
Boy.
I did.
Okay. Did you have any quirks while you were preparing all this alone? कुछ थे, कुछ calendar motivation traps, कुछ calendar things, rewards, mechanisms जो अपने लिए बनाए थे?
I
Anything?
mean, I would pray, as I said. मैंने पहले भी बोला था, I believe in luck and a lot of things. So I used to pray. And since I used to, study alone, I did not have much of a competitive environment where I would, compare myself with somebody else. So I would
Mm-hmm.
just focus on self improvement every day. That आज मैंने इतना किया, I might just do a little better tomorrow. So that environment helped me a lot because I would not have that anxiety कि मैं थोड़ा कम perform कर रही हूँ या फिर someone else is performing better than me. And जैसे February में I think a lot of students start with their prelims mocks and they're already halfway through prelims preparation or they've started answer writing. I had not done any of it, and February तक मैं अपना syllabus cover कर रही थी. It was only in mid March and I think beginning of April that I started with my mocks, prelims mocks, and I
Okay.
had not done anything with respect to means. So it was only in 2 months that I started revising and I started giving mocks. So every day I would keep my schedule in a manner where I would keep half of my day, which was solely devoted to my revision, and half day was devoted to one of the mocks that I would give and analyze that mock. So I would give 3 to 4 hours every day to sit for one mock test and analyze it, and the rest of the day would go into revision again and again. So that's my
Okay.
initial schedule for prelims.
Pretty rigorous. And all this while you had no peer group, no mentor of sorts, no one in the services or an ex-aspirant with a good repute, so as to say. No one, really. You studied all alone.
Yes, I did because I had no peer group. मतलब peer group in the sense who was preparing. I had my friends
Yeah.
around me who were from different fields, but they would always help me with my anxiety and who would always motivate me. But no one from this particular field as such. No.
Is that helpful, or sometimes the competition kind of drives you, right? Since you said anxiety and pressure was anyway driving you, wouldn't it have helped to have peer groups or just benchmark yourself?
I think I think it could have been helpful, but at the
But
same
you
time,
never felt the
no,
lack of it?
I did not because every time that I felt that I was lacking something, I was not scoring well, I would always ask myself questions. Like I would focus more on self analysis, but so I would listen to Topper Talks. I would go back to Google, and I would look for different sources. Like how can I add more information to my notes? How can I add? So I remember there was one point when I would consistently score very low in environment questions in prelims. So I realized ki, there was consistently a pattern which was emerging that I would not be able to attempt questions based on current affairs or treaties. So I went back to the book. I looked up all the topics where I was going wrong, and I realized that perhaps I have not revised well. So, all of this self questioning, it came all along. And the more I self analyzed it, the more I got to know that I haven't covered these portions, and then PYQs. And I think Topper Talks really helped me a lot during that phase. But yeah, I never really thought much.
Any ranker in particular who you could associate with more, or who you found more palatable? Because rankers have different personalities, right? And hence the raw and real is like everyone is different, and the more practical they share their journey, the better it is. So who did you
I
find more
remember,
palatable?
yeah, I remember listening to Satyam Gandhi sir, and he had mentioned that that he focused entirely on prelims, पहले. तो he said that if you do not really clear the first stage of your exam, you remain demotivated for the entire year, and which is not
Hmm.
really good. So I that thing remained with me. So I thought that I will give it my all to prelims. And अगर prelims नहीं होता है तो शायद मुझे ज्यादा बुरा लगेगा as compared to prelims हो जाए and शायद mains ना हो. So I gave it my
Hmm.
all. I made it pretty rigorous that I want to clear prelims at any cost, because that would give me an initial push कि अच्छा ठीक है मैं prelims कर सकती हूँ. So probably I would convince my parents to at least give me another year.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
It
yeah,
would have
that,
been hard, right? If this would not have been a first attempt, one that would have
yes.
been slightly tough.
So I remember that after I cleared prelims, although I had no preparation with mains, my
Yeah,
parents were still satisfied with the fact that first attempt में at least prelims तो
लड़की ने
हुआ.
prelims निकाल दिया है.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that was a
And
bit of a motivation.
we were just talking about on the phone, right? That just on the day of the results, I think Uncle mentioned that someone, what was that funny incident and what happened after that? I didn't follow it through on the call, but tell me, we're just jumping forward. So
Yeah, it's okay.
what happened?
Yeah, so on the day of my final results, which is on 23rd May, so I was a little anxious, like everyone else. कि
Yeah.
क्या चूज कर लिया, इतना अनसर्टेन एग्जाम है, एंड आज भी मुझे श्योर नहीं है कि मुझे प्रीलिम्स देना है या नहीं. So no, all sort of questions, and I was discussing it with my parents. And very subtly, my father mentioned that this guy has this one of my friends' son. He has gotten a good package, and he did BTech from so and so college. And yeah, so I mean, it was self-explanatory to induce my anxiety to another level, that what did I really choose for myself.
Okay, and then what happened? After the result, I want to know what happened once the result came about.
Yeah.
अंकल को लग गया बिल्कुल सारे डिसीजंस एकदम इतने कॉन्फिडेंस और इतने हाइंडसाइट अमेजमेंट के साथ लिए गए थे कि दैट्स द न्यू नैरेटिव नाउ.
I mean, it was more shocking for me because
Okay.
I don't know if they believed in me or not, but I think they did. Uh, but for me, because I constantly thought, what
Hmm.
if this decision turned out to be a disaster? What if I did not pursue this or that? So I think at the end of the day, I was answerable to myself, and I didn't
Yeah,
to ruin that chance कि मैंने ये कर लिया तो ऐसा हो गया. So I was pretty much shocked as well as surprised, and I was grateful for the fact that I finally gotten through and my decisions were not really bad. So I think yeah, more than them,
that's
I
awesome.
was surprised.
That's awesome. Okay, let's segue back to the post-prelim stage, right? So, did you? So, a lot of narrative which runs these days is that कि PYQs पे थोड़ा ढंग से focus करो, and that you get the hold of PYQ, you get the hold of UPSC examiner's mind. And now you had not prepared for mains till the prelims, so you had only few months for mains preparation, including the optional, which I believe would be sociology. You would have taken that same thing. What was the main strategy now? Now when the results and did you clear prelims sufficiently comfortably? मतलब mock books वो को ठीक आ गया था, right?
Yes.
So prelims देते you had the next months etched out for you कि अभी mains करना
I
है.
scored 104 in my prelims, and I was pretty confident that GS paper 1 तो हो जाएगा, GS paper 2 का श्योर नहीं था मैं.
अच्छा.
तो क्योंकि CSAT मेरा थोड़ा सा हमेशा डाइसी सा रहा था, तो पेपर 1 की जगह मैं पेपर 2 में थोड़ा कंफ्यूज थी. बट नॉनदलेस ड्यूरिंग दैट 15-17 डेज जब तक रिजल्ट नहीं आया था प्रीलिम्स का, आई थॉट दैट इट वुड बी बेटर दैट आई कवर माय ऑप्शनल्स फर्स्ट, बिकॉज
Hmm.
पूरे साल भर मैंने ऑप्शनल नहीं किया था. एंड क्योंकि
Hmm.
सोशियोलॉजी काफी कंफर्टेबल था मेरे लिए, तो मैंने उन 15 दिनों के अंदर सिर्फ अपने सोशियोलॉजी के नोट्स बनाए थे.
अच्छा.
या सो आई कवर्ड ईच एंड एवरी टॉपिक and made synoptic notes page wise. So I took one A4 size sheet. I made
Hmm.
those notes. So for every topic, I had one page sufficient pointers, and I revised them, after that. And जब result आ गया था, तो फिर again with all the GS 1 2 3 4, I did the same thing. I made synoptic notes topic wise, and as you mentioned about the PYQs, so I looked up for past 5 years PYQs, and I realized what topics were more important and which topics were more important and were more likely to come up ahead. And this is, this is how I covered my notes. So I remember looking up for the PYQs of disaster management and I think environment. So I realized the pattern was emerging कि जो current affairs में थोड़े से आपके disaster management issues होते हैं, they might as well turn up. तो मैंने उन
Hmm.
टॉपिक्स को बहुत स्पेसिफिकली कवर कर लिया था. एंड जब वो टॉपिक्स मुझको मॉक्स में मिलते थे तो आई वुड बी प्रीटी कॉन्फिडेंट दैट ओके आई एम गोइंग इन द राइट ट्रैक, दैट आई कैन actually analyze those patterns. So
Hmm.
that helped me during mains. And I think what was more important in my mains preparation for those 3 months, that I did not take the load of the fact that I had not written any answers.
Hmm.
क्योंकि मेंस के जस्ट बाद काफी आंसर राइटिंग सीरीज एंड टेस्ट सीरीज शुरू हो जाती हैं. एंड इफ एट ऑल अगर मैं राजेंद्र नगर में होती है, वहां पर और लोग कर रहे होते, तो वो एंजाइटी होता कि यार तुमने शुरू भी नहीं किया अभी तक. तो जब क्योंकि मैं अपने खुद के जोन में थी, खुद के कंफर्ट लेवल से आगे बढ़ रही थी, तो उसमें मैंने पूरा 1 महीना सिर्फ अपनी नोट मेकिंग को दिया था. एंड
Okay.
आई स्टार्टेड वेरी ग्रेजुअली एंड एट माई ओन पेस. सो जब मैंने 1 महीना पूरे नोट्स बनाए, and then I started with revision first rather than jumping straight to answer writing. After I was done with sufficient revision, like for 3 to 4 times, it was then that I started writing 5 to 10 answers per day, just to begin with it. And gradually and slowly I started with 3 hour tests, and before my means I started writing 2 tests per day, just to get a hang of it, like writing 6 hours.
Acclimatize.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that was my step by step journey. Because I think कि अगर आप initially एकदम से आंसर राइटिंग पे जंप कर देते हो, तो probably आपके पास कंटेंट नहीं होता, आप रिवाइज नहीं कर पाते हो, रिकॉल नहीं कर पाते
Hmm.
हो.
Hmm.
उसकी वजह से you get demotivated on the day one of answer writing.
Hmm.
So that was my initial plan. I think just because I was preparing alone, as you mentioned, तो वो एक लोड नहीं था कि मैं किसी से कंपेयर कर पा रही हूँ अपने आप को. I was only looking at the requirement of UPSC and going at my own pace as to if I can fulfill that requirement in the prerequisite time. And I made those plans according to my capacity, if I can do it or not.
Okay. देखो दो चीज बताओ. एक तो did the FOMO never set in कि ये means दे रहे हो और you cleared prelims or you would clear prelims and अभी भी you're not benchmarking yourself against anyone, और ये सारी proverbial wisdom है, ये prevailing wisdom है कि mocks देना शुरू कर दो and get into the habit of writing answers. I mean, very few people opt out of it.
Yes.
In fact, I was speaking with someone and he said मैं तो optional का mock लिया ही नहीं है, forget about, एक आंसर नहीं लिखा, ऐसे ही कर दिया. And then you were alone. Were you now preparing with any peer group post prelims? Yeah, अभी भी खुद की journey खुद से ही थी. Most
I mean,
majority
you mean post interview, right?
post prelims. Were you for the
No,
mains
yeah, alone.
again
Yes,
alone?
yes.
Seriously, you never felt like you should benchmark yourself? No, this was like a high stakes thing, right? For you, this is like now stakes are high, but you kept going alone.
I kept, because I think I benchmarked myself to the previous year toppers कि मैं उनके आंसर शीट्स देखती थी. एंड
अच्छा.
क्योंकि मैं मॉक्स देती थी इनिशियली, शायद स्कोर उसमें अच्छा नहीं था मेरा, बट आई वुड कॉन्स्टेंटली वर्क ऑन द कमेंट्स एंड द सजेशंस दैट आई वुड गेट. सो प्रोबेबली दैट इज मोर देन इनफ.
That's
एंड आई
not
थिंक
enough.
मोर
Okay.
देन, if you're benchmarking yourself with the competitors around you, I think you get a very false sense of sometimes failure or false sense of
Sometimes
achievement.
comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, second question. Now, hypothetically, if you had to do it all over again, if this wouldn't have panned out the way it did, and I understand that you're a very analytical person at that खुद से पढ़े, so अपने gaps और अपने plus and minuses खुद पता थे. What would you have done differently this time now?
So after my interview, I was again preparing for prelims, and क्योंकि मेरा इंटरव्यू पहले हो गया था बहुत ज्यादा, तो मेरे पास sufficient time था prelims कवर करने के लिए. But again, I had made few friends after interview, because you meet them during mock interviews.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
had made 2-3 friends, but I think I enjoyed my own company and my own analysis a lot. That although I used to speak to them occasionally, but I would keep my phone aside and I would just focus more on the mocks. I would download my mocks in the morning. I would do them. I would revise. So that was my entire day. And I never really felt कि एक peer group होना चाहिए था. But I'm at the same time I'm not denying the fact that the peer group actually helps a lot during this
But
preparation.
it just didn't work for you.
Yeah, it
That's
didn't
okay.
work for me. That's
Okay. So क्या करते क्या different करते? So okay, what did you do post your interview, which happened pretty early in
that's
February, right? So
that's what I'm saying.
over.
I really didn't talk to them much. I only focused on my preparation. Like I would do my mocks every day. I would revise again. So that was the exact thing that I did for my previous
Previously
field.
also.
That was the
Makes sense.
same thing.
And how was the interview now? The interview which you gave, how was that? What board did you get?
I got RN Chaube sir's board, and
So board.
I
I've
mean I
heard a
remember
lot about Chaube sir. His times. कि
what
कोई
did
कह
he
रहा था he
do?
has a Chaube verse. I think कुछ he has a different multiverse. क्या क्या? It's like there's so much of
Yes.
double legend type है बिल्कुल उनका.
Yeah, I mean a lot of people say that he asks out of the blues. वो कुछ भी डैफ से नहीं पूछते हैं.
हाँ.
In my case, I think that was partially true because दो तीन questions थे जो social issues के around थे. So
Hmm.
probably, sociology से related थे वो questions. But, again, DAF में से कुछ नहीं था मेरे as such.
अच्छा.
या तो I know that, in fact, जब मैं interview देने जा रही थी तो मुझसे 10 मिनट पहले ही किसी ने बोला था कि, last year उनका 24 का बोर्ड था and she got really low marks
Hmm.
in her interview. And,
Hmm.
that really, I mean, pulled my confidence really down.
Okay.
Yeah, but since
And yours happened very early, right? You fourth day of the interview thing, right? Okay.
and
Was there a googly Chaube sir ने जो
there it
हुई?
yes, because जब मेरे मॉक्स थे मैंने दिए थे इंटरव्यू के, सब लोगों ने मुझसे बहुत स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चंस पूछे थे मेरे डैफ के अराउंड. तो जब मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रही थी कि 24 सर भी वैसे ही कुछ पूछेंगे मुझसे, बट नो, इट वाज ऑल कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट. एंड द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इटसेल्फ मेड मी रियलाइज कि he might not ask anything from the DAF. It was all
Okay.
completely out of
What was that? What was that? What was the first question like?
So first question was, I mean, the first thing that he does with every candidate is कि आप अपने आप को introduce कराइए. तो मैंने
अच्छा.
introduction दिया, which was prepared. So I was
Hmm.
really happy with कि introduction हो गया. This is, my forte. I did it really well. But उसके बाद first question. So I was expecting कुछ यूपी, कुछ बरेली, कुछ मेरे subject को लेके पूछेंगे. But the first question he asked me was on Green Revolution 2.0 and Economic Liberalization 2.0. So, that was a pretty, as you said, कि एक googly की तरह था. तो, for a moment, I had to think that, where is this coming from? Like, I didn't really mention anything around agriculture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that happened, but I think I managed that question well. But from that question onwards, I realized that he might not ask me the entire board might not ask me from my DAF. It could be actually quite the opposite.
Right. Awesome. Okay, great. So we know all about the journey now. Let's assume that a lot of college goers, third yearites, or second year folks are going to listen to this, right? Not all of them would be able to take bold choices like you did. It's really bold, to be honest. I mean, for someone who's a generation prior to you, these are good stuff which people do, but takes a lot of guts to stand through them, especially given that we all come from middle class and we have similar upbringing. Our parents are slightly fear driven, though they understand our potential, but they still would not want us to do a lot of hits and misses just like that. You mentioned a lot that there were a lot of anxious periods, etc., etc. And although you say that but I have a clear in my goals, so to ek wo agenda tha. But what are some of the good practices which people can do to keep themselves still on the right path, or whatever they have chosen, which they have clarity for? Kuch aisa kiya tha, which you remember? I know you pray, but apart from that, how do you deal with anxiety? Which
So,
kind of
I mean, there was not one particular way that I dealt with it. In every different phase, I had different ways of coping with it. So initially, it was all my friends, and I mean that they would support me. My mother would support me. But gradually, slowly and gradually, you realize that that is not working anymore. Your peer group can't do it all along for you. So I remember at one point I had to take up my hobby, but फिर वो hobby करने में भी interest नहीं आता because you're already thinking a lot about your exam, and that guilt really kills you. तो उस point पे आके sometimes I remember I would write I would start keeping a journal. I would write my
Mm.
thoughts. I would address it that, okay, I am feeling so and so thoughts. I'm feeling this negative thing.
Mm.
And I started to address all my questions, all my doubts in my head. तो जैसे मैं रोज एक जर्नल मेंटेन, रोज तो नहीं हो पाता था, बट एक जर्नल मेंटेन करती थी. उसमें हर रोज, चाहे वो रेपिटेटिव थॉट्स ही क्यों नहीं थे, मैं उनको
Mm.
मेंशन करती थी, उनको एक्सेप्ट करती थी. एंड at a lot of points I would constantly write those answers, ki fine, I have taken this decision, but this is mine to take. And all that self acceptance kind of, you know took me a little ahead. Sometimes I would go on some trips because I really love traveling alone. So I would go and sit in somewhere and eat something because I like that. It was kind of therapeutic for me. So I would look around myself that what people are really doing. Are they really interested in what they're doing? So I would get all those different thoughts. I would talk to people, and I think I loved talking to strangers at that point of time.
Okay.
So all of that, whatever I sort of loved doing, I did each and everything. But sometimes that guilt comes in with whatever you're doing. एंड समटाइम्स मैं ब्रेक्स जब लेती थी तो वो गिल्ट फैक्टर बहुत ज्यादा मार देता था. तो अगर हम अपने एंजाइटी को कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, अपने लिए कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो इस एग्जाम में वो गिल्ट काफी गंदा वाला रोल
Hmm.
प्ले करता है.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think it's easier said than done that you can do this, you can do that to control your anxiety issues.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be emphasized that whatever makes you a little happy at that moment when you're feeling low, you
Yeah.
really need to do it. Because if you don't do it, I mean, आप जो ये आप प्रिपरेशन में आप इतने sacrifices करके आए हो, that might just go waste. So if you think कि ये एड्रेस करना जरूरी है या फिर खुद को मोटिवेट रखना जरूरी है, खुश रखना जरूरी है, तो probably all that break period, or if you're pursuing your hobby, that might just be a little easy for you, and you might not get that guilt. And for different people it might be different. Some people might just go to sleep, or they would
Hmm.
watch some motivational quotes. So whatever keeps you going, just do it. I mean, whatever, it could be anything.
I think Porish, or either Porish mentioned this or someone else said ki I used to binge watch, and that used to be both my happy thing and also guilt. And I'll get back to the studies because I've already maxed out, whatever, and very quickly so.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's always there, but you can't really help it. You have to sort of have some time for yourself, otherwise you can't go ahead.
and I know that even when I do ask this question, it's so subtle and such a life lived within. Because I think that's what this journey, especially for this UPSC exam, because it's not a rocket science exam, it's exam which kind of hugely subjective, has a longer gestation period, like you said. So the more it involves you within your own conundrums inside you, it's something which it's not that easy to articulate out. And so whoever is taking this trek would kind of know that kab pit stop pe kab rukna hai, kab chalna hai. It's a very self, you know, aware journey. Awesome, Aditi. Thanks for this. I didn't really know how to time. And you are someone who ये सब करने में मजा आता है, तो देहरादून and Mussoorie will provide you enough stuff and more to go on a day hike and whenever you want. Just hit me up whenever you want to explore some offbeat treks वगैरह वगैरह. Would love to share the coordinates.
Definitely.
Okay. Take care. Lovely chatting again.
Same here. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good night.
Good night.